Greetings, fellow Idahoans. This is Fred with another Fiscal Fridays with Fred. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the grocery tax on food. I should say the sales tax on food. There's been conversation for years about taking the tax off of food. Now, the time is better than ever. And I'm going to explain to you why. I think everyone knows that food prices are up. That's pretty obvious. In fact, I was just shopping a few hours ago and a small box of cereal was like $4. I just couldn't believe it. And this is hurting everyone who shops and feeds their family. And why are food prices up so much? Of course, we hear that it's inflation, but there's another factor that everyone should understand. And that is when you go buy something, of course, you pay a 6% tax on that. So effectively, if the price is up 20%, you're paying 6% on that 20% higher price. What does all that mean? I'm going to put out some dramatic numbers for you. Fiscal 20, Idaho collected about little over 2 billion in sales taxes. Now, food's about 11% of that, a little over. So we collected 2 billion from all Idahoans for sales taxes on the purchases of everything that's taxed. Your new truck, television, or the steak, or the pair of sneakers, all taxed 6%. A year later, Idaho collected about 2.5 billion. And for the current year, it's forecast 2.8 billion. And then for next year, almost 3 billion. Amazing. From 2 to 3 billion in about 3 years, another $1 billion. Now we know people have moved in here, but it's just not that. We're actually paying an inflation tax. One way to help families immediately would be to take that 6% tax off of food purchases. And you would probably say, well, that's a no-brainer. Isn't that true in a lot of states? And the answer is absolutely. So Idaho is one of about 7 states that fully tax food. And I say about because tax laws change every year in different states. So we're taxing food. And how about the states around us? Montana, we'll just kind of go around the horn, as they say. Montana has no sales tax, so obviously they don't tax food. Washington State has a sales tax, but food's exempt. Oregon does not have a sales tax, so obviously they don't tax food. Nevada does not tax food. Utah taxes food at a lower percent, about 3%. So we have all these states that we share borders with, and they either don't tax food at all, or in the case of Utah, they tax it at a lower rate. That's a real disadvantage for Idahoans. If you're a business person that has a store that's on the border, people might cross the border to shop for food. So that's not a good thing. Can we afford to take the tax off of food? Absolutely. I just explained the last few years that sales taxes in total are up $1 billion. So if we totally took away the sales tax on food, what would that cost the state of Idaho? How much would revenues be reduced? Which means how much more do we have in our pockets? And the answer is it's close to 300 million. Just a couple of years ago, if I'd done the estimate, or even a year ago, I would have said 250 million. But inflation has driven up food prices so much that now actually that would be even more substantial tax relief. Why has this not happened? Well, I'll just be very clear with you. The House and Senate leadership, particularly the House leadership, have blocked bills to consider reducing the sales tax on food, to remove it. And this has been going on for years. There are a number of reasons. Most of them are political. They'll give excuses like, well, gee, we have all these visitors. And if we take the sales tax off groceries, they're not going to pay tax on groceries when they go into the Quick Mart or wherever to buy food as they travel through Idaho. Well, of course, that logic applies to the other 43 states that don't tax food. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because visitors pay tax on rental cars, they pay tax on gasoline, they pay tax on any other products they buy, paper towels, toilet paper, they pay taxes and eat in restaurants. So that's probably not that big of a slice. There's also another reason given, and that is that a lot of people don't pay any or very much income tax, and this is a tax everyone pays. Well, everyone does pay sales taxes, but we don't have to tax food to tax people and other sales. But here's something they don't tell you. If you're a working person, a poor person who's working and doesn't get food stamps, you're paying the tax on food. However, people who get food stamps are not subject to the sales tax on food. Why is that? The federal government provides money for food stamps, and they do not allow states to take a sales tax apportionment, if you will, out of the food stamp purchase. So if you have $100 of food stamps, you get $100 of groceries. If you have $100 of your own money, you walk out with $94 of groceries. That's totally unfair. So we believe it's way past time, given inflation, given the tax on food, which is a tax now on inflation, to remove the sales tax on groceries. All it takes, all it takes is for one committee to introduce the bill, and that's House Revenue and Taxation. And the reason it hasn't is because the chairman of that committee, and he'll say this openly, refuses to allow a bill to be introduced. And one of the reasons is they know if the bill was introduced, it would pass the committee, it would pass the House, it would pass the Senate, and it'd be on the governor's desk. And the governor said he'd sign it. So if you want to remove the sales tax on food, understand all that it takes to do that, because there are bills that have been written, is consideration of a bill. There's several. There are actually 2 to 3 bills that are dormant that would remove the sales tax on food, and they could be done next week. They could be taken up by the Idaho legislature. Thank you for another Fiscal Fridays with Fred. I'll see you next week.